All right, we're starting right on time tonight. I think that is quite perfect. So just want to say welcome and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Energy Smart Homes Pelham call. Tonight we're going to be hearing from your neighbors in Pelham that are heating with heat pumps, and we'll let Mary Ann Joyce from the Sustainability Advisory Board and Pelham, pretty much everything. If you need to know something about Pelham, you go to Mary Ann. So Mary Ann, start us off.
Thanks, Lauren. Just so everyone knows, that was Lauren Broyes from Sustainable Westchester, who's sort of been spearheading all our efforts here. It's great to see you all here tonight. As Lauren said, my name's Mary Ann Joyce, and on behalf of the Energy Smart Homes Pelham Volunteer Committee, the Sustainability Advisory Board, the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, and EcoPel, I'd like to welcome everyone. I hope you'll find the information being presented here on grid rewards, community solar, and clean heating and cooling both interesting and useful. I particularly want to thank our co-hosts for the evening, Pelham Preservation and Garden Society and the Manor Club, for helping us to get the word out about this effort. The Manor Club has a long history of supporting educational events for the community, and we very much appreciated their help with Solarize several years ago and their partnership in our sustainability series last year. And of course, Pelham Preservation and Garden Society shares our goal of keeping Pelham a green and vibrant place to live and raise a family, and has made major contributions over the years to that end. And we look forward to continued partnerships with both of your organizations. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Alice Dean, President of the Manor Club, and Amy Lynn Kaplan, Chair of the Pelham Preservation and Garden Society, to say a few words. Thank you both so much for your support.
Well, thank you for asking us. I'm Alice Dean, President of the Manor Club, which is about a 100-year-old organization in Pelham that has women and now men. And we're, as Mary Ann has said, we're interested in education, cultural kinds of things, and we've been happy to support this work that you all are involved in. We are happy to host with Pelham Preservation, your organization, and try to get the word out to our members and to everybody that we can, and educate the community. Both of our groups are interested in climate change and its issues, and most of all, its remedies. And tonight, I think you'll help provide some of the definite and practical kinds of remedies and the way we can participate in the solution. And I think that's what many of us are looking for, are the how-tos. We're on board with climate change and sustainability and so forth, but we don't always know how to do it. So thank you. And Amy, Pelham Preservation, I think, has a few words as well.
Thank you, Alice. Yes, and Pelham Preservation is a small organization and not nearly as long-term as the Manor Club, but we have been operating for 20 years in the Pelhams, and we try to preserve green space, and we try to preserve homes and history in Pelham. And I think, you know, when you look at the intersection of these beautiful, huge homes in Pelham, and you think about how to heat and cool and provide energy with efficiency in the modern era, I think things like geothermal and all options need to be explored. I put solar on my house as part of the Solarize movement, and it's been wonderful, and I'll never look back. And it matters to our members. We hear from them often, and they ask, how can we have these beautiful plate glass windows, but we're freezing to death? So this should be of interest to all of our members, and thank you for bringing this to us.
Okay, thanks Amy for that, and thank you Alice for joining us tonight. So to kick it off, we are going to hear from two Pelham residents, Mike and Amy, to share their homeowner story with how they upgraded their house to 21st century heating and cooling technology. Mike and Amy, take it away.
Great. It's actually a pretty good segue from Amy's discussion about big old homes and leaky windows, because although our home is not huge, it is about 105 years old or so. And when we moved in June of 2019, right at the top of our list was to try and make the home more efficient. So we had insulation blown in, and we had all the windows replaced. And as part of that, we had looked into upgrading our heating system from a heating oil furnace to a natural gas furnace because it's more efficient and quieter, and et cetera. And as you know, or may know, Con Edison has a moratorium on new natural gas hookups for large appliances in our area, but they do offer incentives for geothermal, which is something that I had sort of heard a couple things about, but I wasn't that familiar with. But we looked into it and ended up contracting with a company called Dandelion, which is a Google spin out, weirdly enough.
We also don't have air conditioning in this house.
Right.
That was the other. So a combination of no air conditioning plus oil heat also made us kind of prime candidates for
Yes,
geothermal.
because we got a quote for getting air conditioning put in, and it was something like $10,000 or $12,000 to get it all done for the house. And then so that was a little rich, and so we decided to hold off on that and look into geothermal, which provides both heating and cooling in one unit. And the sticker price is higher, but when you think of the fact that we were going to invest in whole house air conditioning in the first place, it actually made it much more reasonable upfront cost. And actually, we're saving. I calculated it the other day. I think we're saving on average about $300 a month in heating and cooling costs over what we were paying for window air conditioning and oil heat last year. Which is a pretty incredible savings. And we also, are burning no fossil fuels in the home for heating and cooling. And it's quiet, and there are a lot of actually ancillary benefits to the geothermal heat. It's a little bit of a hurdle to get over in terms of the installation, because they come and they drill 400-foot deep wells in your backyard. And
Which is great if you have small children, because then you have a giant mud dirt pit for, weeks
for a couple of weeks
before you get sod laid down. So it's, it is wonderful in that regard.
Yes. So yeah, it is a bit of a hurdle to get over the initial cost, although they do have financing if that's something that, people are interested in. They offer pretty competitive financing, but also, you kind of need to make sure that you're okay with your backyard getting torn up, or your side yard or driveway or whatever, where they put the wells. But, from start to finish, it took us a little bit longer because of a combination of the pandemic, and also just our schedules didn't quite line up. But I think we were talking about it. We basically got it drilled in the beginning of 2020, and we were functional on air conditioning, because that's when it what was required at the time, in April, so mid-April or so. It could have gone significantly faster than that, but there was a combination of, they were kind of light on units, and also, like I said, the pandemic put a little bit of a wrench in things.
Right, and also we have a small backyard, and apparently we have, I think at the time, was the smallest backyard that they had drilled in. So we also had to wait for a smaller.
Yeah, they have a specialized drilling rig that is unique to this one company, and was able to navigate our narrow and steep driveway and get in our backyard and do their whole drilling and things. So,
but overall, we love it. It's very comfortable temperature wise. We have 3 floors, and we made it. Our first summer was very comfortable. Our first winter was also very comfortable. And yeah, so far we're really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, we really can't say enough good things about it, actually. It's really excellent, and it's a very good option for anyone who was in our situation, which is where you have forced air heating, and so the ductwork is already in place, and no air conditioning, because you basically kill 2 birds with 1 stone, because you get air conditioning and then you get a much more efficient heating plant as well. We use I was actually shocked at how little energy the air conditioning uses. The heat is a little bit more energy intensive, but the air conditioning is a few light bulbs basically. It's very surprising, but it's extremely efficient and great. So, we're happy to talk more, or take questions or whatever, but that our experience has been extremely positive. Customer service has been really good. They've come and upgraded the software, et cetera, as things get, more advanced. So all in all, great experience, and would highly recommend it.
Wonderful. So glad to hear your story. Thanks for sharing. And I don't know if there's any people that have questions for Mike and Amy right now. We can also hold them to the end, but if there's any burning questions out there, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we can move on to our next topic. Okay, and also I have pinned you, Mike and Amy, to my screen on Zoom so everyone can see your faces. So I have to unpin you now. So, where is that little dot? I can't find it, but okay. So we're gonna move on now to talk about the next piece. Oh, here we go. Got it now. Okay, sorry. Okay, we're going to talk about the next piece of the campaign. So we are going to talk, let me share my screen and we'll just get right into it. Okay. And as we're moving through the slides, if people have questions, feel free, please drop them in the chat. And then once we get through the slides, we'll return to the chat, look at the questions that have come through. And also we can just unmute and kind of have a nice conversation with each other because it's a small group as well. So Energy Smart Homes, we covered this. Everyone sees the slides, right? Yeah, we're in a good place. Thank you to our co-hosts as we've recognized them. So a bit of good news for every person that's on the call tonight. We will be planting a tree in your honor through One Tree Planted. And through all the webinars we've been hosting, I think we've definitely planted a couple hundred trees in the national park. So that's a great thing. Sustainable Westchester is where I work. Sorry, I hadn't introduced myself in the beginning. We are a nonprofit consortium of Westchester governments, and it's our goal to enable sustainability programming to help ensure a better future for our communities. We represent municipalities across Westchester County, pretty much every single municipality besides one, and also Westchester County itself is a member. So we have a suite of sustainability programming that we offer to homeowners and renters, residents, anyone really with a utility bill or anyone looking to live a more sustainable life. So you've probably dialed into the call tonight to hear about our Energy Smart Homes program focused on clean heating and cooling and energy efficiency. But we're just going to quickly talk about community solar and grid rewards as well. So let's just get right into the grid reward slides. Right now, there is a demand response program that can help us to lower our carbon emissions. And we are doing this because we want to help to prevent the use of dirty peaker plants. So in the summertime, when there is the most stress on the electrical grid, Con Ed needs to turn on additional plants to support the energy demand. And these plants are the dirtiest, most polluting plants, also known as peaker plants. So instead of turning on these plants, Con Ed has decided to incentivize us to lower our usage during demand response events. So the demand response events are usually in the summer when there's the most stress on the grid, as I said. And let's move through the slide. So Grid Rewards is an app that you can download onto your phone. This is a little preview of what it looks like. It's a really easy to use application, and we decided to put this at the beginning of the PowerPoint because if you decide to pull out your phone and apply and do the Grid Rewards application or just sign in and download the app during the phone call right now, we can troubleshoot during the end of the call if you have any questions. But basically, there's no obligation once you sign up, but you say yes, you raise your hand to say, yes, I will participate in demand response events. And then Con Ed will issue about 5 to 7 demand response events over the summer. It's optional if you participate, but if you do participate, you will find that Con Ed will send you money at the end of the summer based off of how much reduction you've achieved. The average savings is about $200 by the end of the summer. And this is just an example of other things the app can provide. I downloaded the app a few weeks ago myself, and it's even telling me when is a good time to use electricity. So I've been enjoying using this. So as I said, the way to sign up is you go to your app store, download the app. You'll need to know your Con Ed account number to type that in. They'll guide you through giving permission to share your Con Ed info, and then you'll be good to go. So that covers Grid Rewards. I know we moved through that pretty quickly, but we encourage you to sign up. There's really no downside. Okay, and another opportunity that Sustainable Westchester is offering, this again is an easy sign up. All you need to do is sign up over the internet, call us on the phone, and you'll be participating in the program. So this program is called Community Solar, and it's a great way to support the growth of local renewable energy. This is a program for people that do not have solar on their own homes, or maybe could never have solar if they live in an apartment or some other situation. And basically the way the program works is the solar panels are installed off-site from your own home, but somewhere within the community or in the county. Utility customers can subscribe to participate in the community solar program, and then subscribers receive a 10% discount every month from their utility bill. And the benefits, as I said, saving 10%, you're supporting the growth of local renewable energy. There's no cost to join, no cost to leave, and you can cancel anytime. And it's perfectly compatible with your Con Ed utility account. And this is an example of the savings that you can expect to achieve. So if your Con Ed bill is $115 each month, your solar credit can lower your bill, driving it down to $105 to save $10, saving that 10% of the $115. And it's a double pay. The solar farm will act as the collector of the remaining utility fees. So it's a great thing to do, easy sign up, and why not support the growth of local renewable solar? These are some photos of the different solar farms that people can subscribe to. And okay. This is just a reminder on how to sign up. So you can visit the Sustainable Westchester website, head over to the Community Solar tab, and there is a sign up form right there on the web. If you need more information, Claire from Sustainable Westchester can help you sign up, and the number is on the screen. I'll also drop this in the chat. Okay, now we're moving right along. We're moving and grooving tonight. So Energy Smart Homes, perhaps this is the reason you came on the call tonight. So Energy Smart Homes is a collaboration between the town and village of Pelham and our sustainability groups, EcoPel, the Village Sustainability Advisory Board, and the Village Climate Smart Communities Task Force. And funding for the Energy Smart Homes program comes via NYSERDA, and Sustainable Westchester is a grant recipient to operate the Energy Smart Homes program. And now Ajay from Cadmus is going to take us through some slides about the benefits of clean heating and cooling and what that means in your own home. So Ajay, thank you for being with us tonight.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Yeah, so the neat thing about Energy Smart Homes is that there are programs like this all over the state, all getting at the idea that it's not even about climate change anymore. You know, clean heating and cooling is just good for your wallet nowadays, because the technology is good enough that, you know, even if you get an air source heat pump, you know, you can still save money on your energy bills throughout the year. So as one example, Energy Smart Homes, the idea is that, you know, I can tell you that getting an air source heat pump on your house is a great idea, or you can have folks like Mike and Amy tell you, and it makes a lot more of a difference. As well as through the Energy Smart Homes program, you get better assistance in terms of, you know, helping, you know, knowing what to expect, having contractors that have already been vetted. And it's just a great program all over. Lauren's great. You're doing a great job. And then we get into, you know, actual, you know, nitty-gritty numbers. You know, 30% of New York's greenhouse gas emissions come from buildings. And for a typical New York home, you know, you're spending 3/4 of your energy on heating, cooling, water heating. You know, the three big things that, you know, rely on fossil fuels the most. And you know, if you're paying $2,000 a year in energy bills, you know, there's a lot you can save by electrifying everything and, you know, cutting carbon emissions in the process. And there are 4 big technologies that I want to talk over pretty quickly around, you know, how to reduce your energy bills and how to cut emissions. So we got home energy efficiency, air source heat pumps, ground source heat pumps, and then heat pump water heaters. And we'll go through them pretty quick. Here is the installer list. These are all great folks. I believe Lexi from Healthy Homes is on the chat, so she can help out in terms of questions. So let's talk about home energy efficiency really quickly. This isn't necessarily an electrification technology, but I would say this is a place you should start in terms of reducing your energy bill and cutting emissions. Next slide, please. This is the classic stuff. Insulating your ceiling, adding insulation to your walls, sealing your windows, replacing your windows, sealing up your door. This is what's called improving your home's envelope. And this is a great place to start in terms of reducing your energy bills, making your home cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter, quieter in general, less drafty. Overall, this is the place to start. And I would say, and Lexi can correct me, but I think one of the biggest things you can do for your house immediately is insulate your ceiling. You can get a lot out of that alone. But if you want a little more than some air sealing, we can get into some cool electrification technologies. Oh, and yes, there are plenty of programs for homeowners and landlords for small buildings. So you can get free or reduced cost home energy assessments, contractor lists, financing, quality assurance by NYSERDA. There are a bunch of programs for low and middle income folks. We'll get to at the very end if you have questions. There's so much out there to make home energy efficiency even more affordable. It's fantastic. And one such example is Empower New York. There's a phone number. There's a website you can call. It's fantastic. Insulate your houses. One thing to take away from this. Next, let's get to air source heat pumps. Air source heat pumps, think of them like air conditioners that can run in reverse. So normally an air conditioner will take heat that's in your house and push it outside of your house. But an air source heat pump can do the opposite as well, pulling heat from outside of your house to inside of your house. And modern heat pumps can do this even in the dead of winter. Most air source heat pumps you're going to get in the Northeast are rated to heat your house just fine, even when it's 5 degrees Fahrenheit out. So no worries about that. Typically, these things involve one or more outdoor units connected to one or more indoor units. You can have ductless systems, otherwise known as mini split heat pumps, or you can have ducted systems. So one of the other options that Mike and Amy had, if they already had ducting in the house, was they could stick an air source heat pump in those same ducts and it would work just fine as well. These air source heat pumps are all electric. They're more efficient than electric resistance baseboards if you have those in your house. And when they're used as cooling systems, they'll blow out any air conditioner out of the water. These things are incredibly efficient. Are they right for your home? Probably. There are two main kinds of air source heat pump. There's a ductless one and a ducted one. If your house has, a boiler and window air conditioners, then I would say suggest going for a ductless. But if you have ducts in your house already, a central system may work. You might have to adjust the ducts a little bit, but you can talk to your installer about that. Costs are, I'll be honest, it's a decent amount. Costs start at $4,000 for a single zone heat pump, or about $10,000 to $12,000 for a whole house. And that price can go up if you wanted to add adders like upgrading your home's breaker panel, or adding in cool smart thermostat systems, or hiding the lines if you live in a historical district. There are a lot of small costs that come in. Every house is a little different. Talk to your installer about that. But as Mike and Amy mentioned, for their house, getting in a central AC would have also cost about $10,000 to $12,000. So if your boiler is on its last legs, if your air conditioner is on its last legs, this is a really solid option, because otherwise you're stuck with a new boiler for 20 years. We'll talk about incentives in a little bit.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Go ahead.
The big thing to keep in mind for the sticker shock that is air source heat pumps is that Con Ed and NYSEG will offer you some pretty substantial incentives. For Con Ed, there's a HVAC nerd unit set up for it, but it comes out to about $7,200 for a typical home. NYSEG, it's about $4,000 if your house is 3 tons of heating. So considerable savings just from rebates and incentives. So let's go to ground source heat pumps.
Okay.
Mike and Amy have already sung the praises of their system. The whole shtick is instead of drawing heat from the outdoor air, you draw it from the ground through these giant wells, because underground temperatures are surprisingly stable no matter what's going on up on the ground level, which make these incredibly efficient systems for heating and cooling your house. So for these, they are a bit of a rigmarole to install because you have to drill giant wells into your backyard. But once they're there, you have one of the nicest forms of heating and cooling that you can get for your house, bar none. Because one, they're incredibly efficient. They're very low cost to run. And two, they're very long lasting. This indoor unit that's in the basement will last easily 20 years. And the pipes that are buried behind your house will last 50 years. Easy. So they're fantastic systems. Although, we'll go to the next slide, they're also quite expensive. They're very good for your house if you already have existing ducts, or if you want to add central AC to your house and you just want the best system you can get. Costs start around $20,000, $25,000 after incentives, and those incentives are pretty hefty. If you have a decently large house, you can expect $13,000, give or take, from Con Ed. A little bit less from NYSEG, and you can also get a 26% federal tax credit to really get as much savings as you can from this initial cost. And then finally, we'll get to heat pump water heaters. These are slightly less of a lift, and they're much more of a discrete thing you can put into your basement. So these heat pump water heaters, they're effectively electric water heaters that you'd expect, except they have a little hat on them that lets you heat water by pulling heat out of the air in your basement. They'll use indoor air, run it through this little heat pump unit on top of the water heater, and heat your water that way. Are these right for your home? There's a little bit of a quirk with heat pump water heaters. One, they're taller than your regular water heater, so if they're crammed into a corner, you might have some trouble fitting your water heater. And also they require a little bit of air around them, a little under room temperature will work, but they need a little bit of space as well. So if your water heater is in a closet, you might need to tweak it a little bit. These things cost between $2,500 and $3,500, so expensive for a water heater. But it's a pretty standardized cost. You can get these at Home Depot, and they don't require as much complicated adders to install into your house. And in terms of incentives, Con Ed and NYSEG will both offer a nice, clean $1,000 incentive for getting a heat pump water heater, which is, one of the best water heaters you can get in any case.
And just to say, we are encouraging people to do the heat pump hot water heater via our Energy Smart Home contractors, because that's how you'll get the Con Ed rebate. If you buy the hot water heater at Home Depot or something, I don't think it qualifies for the rebate.
Oh, messy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
So let's talk quickly about what to expect from installers in terms of the process. So first, you pick your installer, or you pick it through Energy Smart Homes, and from there, you just talk to your installer about what you want, because every house is different. Every family is different, and what you need from your house and what you need from your heating and cooling will determine what kind of system you get into your house. And then from there, the installer will schedule an in-person site visit and potentially a home energy assessment. I know it's a pandemic. These still need to be done in person to make sure that your future system is properly sized for your house. Installers may do what's called a manual J. That's a more precise way of calculating the heat load of your house. From there, you'll talk with your installer some more, get a quote, which will be the price of the installation, price of labor, price of adders, if you want your cool Nest thermostat attached to your heat pump, so it'll predict when you're in the house and heat up properly before you're even in the house. And then from there, you will have the system installed. For a smaller heat pump system, it'll be about about a day. For larger systems, it might be 3 days. For a ground source heat pump, it might take a little longer. But this overall turnaround should be about a couple months. or a little bit longer for ground source heat pumps. And now we get to energy saving. So every home is different. I cannot stress this enough. Every home is different, but we can look at typical cost of unit per unit of heat. MMBTUs is a standard unit of heat. And these are just numbers I pulled from official government sources. On general, if your house is heated by oil or propane or electric resistance baseboards, getting an air source heat pump, you will see almost certainly reductions in your energy bill. You'll get a bit of a heart attack when you see the price on your electric bill, but that'll come out of price cost you're not paying for oil or propane. If your house is heating on gas, you might see your energy bills go up overall. Although if you also pair that with some home energy efficiency improvements, your insulation, your air sealing, that'll more come out into the wash. Often what folks will do to really reduce their energy bills is look for a dual fuel air source heat pump. So that below a certain temperature, your boiler will kick on. Otherwise, above the temperature, your air source heat pump will kick on. And that's a really good way of reducing your energy bills if your gas boiler still works. And if you go ground source heat pump, your energy bills drop even more. And if you pair either of these systems with a solar panel, that's how you really, really get some serious energy savings. Because not only is your house electric, it's electric thanks to panels on your house. You don't even have to ask the grid for electricity at some points. And on top of that, you get the benefits of having having a heating and cooling system that's quieter, that's more amenable to your smart thermostats. That's just plain nicer, improves air quality. I mean, that's the intangible thing for a lot of heat pumps, is that they're just nice. They're really nice, and they make your house more comfortable. On top of saving money on energy, on top of being good for the environment. So they're just really great systems. So that's all I have in terms of details. We can go on to Q&A. I ran it a bit long, unfortunately.
No, that's perfect. Let me just mention about these two upcoming events so I could stop sharing my screen. But if you're loving this presentation and you think it's so great and you want to encourage your friends to attend, we have one on April 22nd and another one on May 4th. And we do have a lot of resources on the Sustainable Westchester website that we recommend for you to check out. And I do see people are talking about the contractor list, which Yenna dropped into the chat, which is so helpful. So people on that list, if you go to the page, you see you can choose Pelham, you can choose the type of contractor you're interested in, and then you'll get their contact information. So let's dive right into Q&A. Do we have any questions? Do people want to unmute and ask? I'll start to look back in the chat. Looks like you had a whole discussion about your house, right, Mike and Amy?
Yeah, I will say also, I think it's relatively new, but I've been looking into the air source heat pump water heater, and there's a federal tax credit as well, I think of $300.
Wow.
So you
Good
can,
point.
yeah, so you can basically get, depending on installation costs or whatever, you can get basically about $1,000 or so all in after everything.
Wow.
And it's supposed to be like 4 or 5 times more efficient than for instance what's in my basement at the moment. So
Definitely, yeah. Another thing that's pretty neat if you have a geothermal system is there's this thing called a desuperheater, which relies on the same ground source loop as the geothermal system, but it heats your water. So that's also an option if you're going geothermal.
yeah, in the summertime, basically the geothermal system provides like 80% of the heating lift for our water heater. Because
so cool.
there's so much extra heat that it's throwing off that it basically uses the water as a cooling loop, and it sticks it into a tank right next to our water heater. And so our gas bill in the summertime is a lot lower than it used to be.
That is super cool.
It is cool. It is, as you say, like a bit of an upfront cost for sure. But even considering that, after all the incentives and things like that, it'll be, I think, about a 5 to 6 year payback, which is like really reasonably good return on investment. So.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. It looks like people also had to talk about windows, and I wonder, since the chat kind of gets lost with the conversation, I wonder if Kevin, if you want to respond to the window comment, or if Lexi, you also want to, and let's talk about it. So Nadia was curious about how much of an investment is it to replace all the leaky windows, and if she has recommendations about that.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned in the chat, I'm Lexi with Healthy Home. I'm one of the Energy Smart Homes contractors where we focus on home performance. And we also do air source heat pumps. But essentially, when it comes to, I mentioned in the chat that either Healthy Home or Energy Management Solutions, the other contractor who's involved in the campaign, can assist and do like some diagnostics to help you determine if it really is the windows. Or if it's like the air sealing around the windows. I believe Amy mentioned that there was like a pulley system that was really, really kind of leaky, and we have seen that in the past. And sometimes in that situation, you will need to just replace the windows. It is a tricky situation simply because sometimes the aesthetic is something that you really want to keep, and it's hard to like replace them with the aesthetic. It's something that we've seen, and we do our best to do some air sealing measures. There are some like air sealing pulley things that we've done to help people in the past as well. But it's one of these things that we kind of have to go and physically see and then help you really diagnose what to do. Like Ajay said, every home is individual, and also how everyone uses their home is individual. Some people have no issues replacing their windows, where sometimes when you get to these older homes in Pelham, the aesthetic of the home is very, very important, and it's not as simple as just changing a window. So we always do our best to help diagnose those things, but it is one of those things that we do kind of have to physically see and work with you and talk you through and help find a solution.
But definitely insulation is an important thing to look at. Sometimes we think it's our windows leaking, but you can really gain a greater improvement with the insulation. Kevin, did you? Yeah.
I would say we want to reduce the load too. When it comes to, we're talking about all this new equipment, we want to take that first step of getting your energy load as low as possible first. Like Mike and Amy said, they did that first, because then when you're doing that manual J, so that you're properly calculating the heating and cooling load for your new equipment so it can operate as efficiently and effectively as possible. You can also change the size of the system depending on how much you insulate and air seal the home. So, sorry, I'll be quiet now.
No, it's
No, that's
great.
great information. That's great to hear.
Kevin, do you want to chime in with what you were putting in the chat? I'm only asking because people do watch these recorded later as well.
I guess, although what we're doing is a lot more than what most people would want to tackle. We had 3 layers of roof material that are in bad shape. We had siding on the house that was in bad shape. We had very, very leaky windows. As it turns out, we also had no insulation in 80% of the walls of the house, which we didn't know when we bought it. So we're basically redoing the entire exterior of the house to fix all of that. And so it's been quite an experience to find out just how leaky the house was. We didn't even have to do a blower door test. You could just walk by a wall whenever there was any windows out or wind outside and feel it blowing on you as you walked up the stairs. So that's all being corrected. But as you can imagine, that's a fairly significant project. So. And as a result of making all of these energy efficiency improvements, we're actually working with Healthy Home then to put central air in the house when this is all done, which we wouldn't have been able to do if we hadn't made all of these improvements, because the energy loss in the house would have been so gigantic that no heat pump system could have kept it warm in the winter. It would have been impossible. So. Yeah.
Kevin's doing more of what we would refer to as like a gut renovation, where you're kind of tearing things down and really air sealing with the spray foam, and it's great. And he made a great point though, is he's right, is sometimes we go into homes and if there is a lot of air leakage, these equipment that's supposed to function really efficiently, if the house is very leaky, if the thermal envelope that the conditioned air is supposed to stay in doesn't allow the conditioned air to stay there, the equipment can't function appropriately. And that's why Healthy Home, even when we're looking at just heat pumps, we do a pretty thorough visual inspection just to make sure that the equipment is being put into a situation where it can function appropriately. But there is other options. Kevin's situation is definitely a unique one, and he is a saint for taking it on. But there are options for insulating without having to tear down all your sheetrock. But again, I think, Kevin, you seem to enjoy it more than most.
Well, we're doing the outside. We're doing all this from the outside. The siding was in very bad shape anyway. We're doing this all from the outside. So then when we discovered that the walls didn't have insulation in them, they could just have an insulation contractor come in and inject foam insulation in from the outside and not have to tear up the inside of the house. So that worked out fairly well. So
Okay. It looks like Amy has a question about the size of the taller heat pump hot water heater.
I
and
can
space
definitely
requirements.
take that.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of, gut estimate, expect the heat pump water heater to be about a foot taller, but about a foot and a half taller. So unless the your current water heater is really packed in, it should be able to fit. In terms of having enough air for the heat pump thing to work, I believe the estimate is 40 to 90 cubic feet. That doesn't mean a whole lot. As long as it's in a room as opposed to a closet, you should be fine. And as long as it's a room that you don't mind getting and get a little colder at all times, because it's got to pull heat from somewhere, so that room's just gonna be cold.
Okay. Mike is looking at a 65-gallon unit from Ream. Okay. They are taller, but okay. Do we have any other?
Just happened to like literally be looking at it today. So it's like, I think it's 65 inches high, which is fairly tall for a water heater for sure. But yeah.
I'm thinking of the height requirements in my basement and where that would sit.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you've got, I think you only need about 6 inches of air on top of it for like a filter change or something like that. But so apart from that, if it'll fit, I think it would work. And they also, if you go with a smaller size unit, I think they're a little bit shorter as well.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. Any more questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? This was a really lovely evening. It's nice to have a little group all together. So thank you so much to Mike and Amy for sharing your story, and to the Manor Club and Pelham Preservation Society, and to the Energy Smart Homes team. Gosh, they are working so hard to get this message out within the Pelham community, and I thank them for all their hard work that they're doing, and thank you all for joining us tonight. So we'll send out a recording of the presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach us at the Sustainable Westchester office. Put my number in the chat if I can remember it. And yeah, that will be great. So keep in touch with us. If you need help selecting a contractor, give us a call at the office or head over to the Sustainable Westchester website, check out the installer partners, and give them a call to schedule your energy assessment or site visit to get started.
Can I just give a plug for the work? Climate Smart Communities Task Force and EcoPel. Folks in Pelham maybe know that the food scrap program has started up. There's a ribbon cutting for that, I think at 11 o'clock on Saturday in the DPW yard on Sparks Avenue. And Amy Lynn mentioned the Healthy Yards program that we're looking at to try to encourage sustainable plantings and gardening around town. So we're going to get that off the ground. If folks are interested in volunteering with us on any of those efforts, please reach out to us. Thank you.
Okay, good announcements. Anything else?
And thank you, Lauren from Sustainable Westchester.
Oh yeah, all good. And thanks to Jay. Thanks to Jay for
Thank you for having me. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Until we meet again at the Food Scrap Recycling Center or something like that. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.